So today we're going to be talking about the gut microbiome. This is something also that's very much food-based. The talk tonight is entirely about nutrition and eating to optimize the microbiome. So let's dive right in. So the gut microbiome has 40 trillion bacteria from more than 1,000 species. So this is in the intestine, in the gut. And we have 40 trillion human cells, so we're only 50% human, 50% bacterial. And we have 23,000 human genes, but more than 1 million bacterial genes. And there are many different types of organisms: bacteria, archaea, viruses, yeast. And there's three main types. Commensal means they're neutrally existing in the gut. Symbiotes are mutually beneficial for both. And a pathobiont is something that could be either harmful or beneficial depending on the environment. So our topic is longevity, right? So when we look at centenarians, those over 100 years old, what they find is they have an exceptionally high diversity in the microbiome. So that's one of the most important metrics of health in the microbiome, the amount of diversity. You can think of a rainforest where there's thousands of different species. You want the gut microbiome to really be very robust and diverse. And that's one of the key metrics in longevity that they have found in centenarians. So these are some of the functions of the gut microbiome. And first, we see that it regulates metabolism and helps with maintaining a healthy weight. So there was a very interesting study about this that was done several years ago now, where they took the microbiome from an obese adult human and transplanted it into a mouse, and the mouse became obese right away. And then they transplanted the microbiome from a lean adult into the same mouse, and the mouse became lean again. So this one point to remember about this is that gut bacteria are very similar across species. So across all mammals, humans, we saw a cat walking by earlier tonight, dogs and mice, a lot of the same bacteria. So that's why they can do this kind of a study. And it was really groundbreaking because it showed that, this microbiome from an obese human put into a mouse immediately made the mouse obese without the mouse eating more or changing activity. And it was reversible with transplanting the microbiome from a lean adult into mice as well. So in addition, the microbiome minimizes risk for all of the major chronic diseases. So if you can really optimize it, it's highly protective. And it also synthesizes certain vitamins, minerals. Your gut bacteria play a key role. So there's just wide-ranging effects of the gut bacteria across all organ systems, all parts of the body. So here's a picture. And in the lower right in blue are the human cells. And then on the upper left are all of the bacteria. So you can, what is that saying? It's a jungle out there. It's very tightly packed, really densely packed. And then there's that green layer that you see in between. So does anyone know what is that green layer that is in between? If you have any thoughts, just shout it out. It's the protective layer between the bacteria and the human cells. It's not exactly skin, because in terms of the gut lining, it's only one cell. It's only like a single layer thick, so it's quite thin. So the green layer is actually mucus that's produced by the human cells. So in all of our intestines, that we have cells called goblet cells, which produce mucus. And that's a very important barrier. So that saying, good fences make good neighbors? Well, this is very true in the gut microbiome. And the mucus is the fence. And so as long as the bacteria are in their place and, with the human cells are here, there's not a problem. But when you get leaky gut, that's when bacteria can actually cross and enter into the bloodstream, cause inflammation. So the green mucus layer is critical to prevent leaky gut. And With our gut bacteria, what is the main food for these gut bacteria? Any thoughts? I heard, what did I say here? Plant protein, someone said? Fiber, exactly. Yeah, it's fiber, pretty much. Fiber is the main source of food for all these bacteria. So why does that matter? When, again, taking a more evolutionary perspective, when we look at evolution of fiber intake over the years, for millions of years, our microbiome evolved with humans eating between 100 to 150 grams of fiber per day. Then, at the turn of the century, it's declined to about 35 grams. And then now, the average American gets about 15 grams of fiber per day. And so it's been about a 90% drop in the food for these gut bacteria. So we've been starving our bacteria, depriving them, of their food source. So what do they eat? They're going to try to eat something else to survive. Well, they actually eat a part of us in that situation, which is the mucus layer. So that's what gut bacteria do if they're deprived of the food source of fiber. They start to consume the mucus layer. And that was shown in this study here. So there's two different images. The one on the left is a healthy microbiome. This is a very normal state. So blue, again, are the human cells. Green is the mucus layer. And then the right is the inner intestine, where you have in yellow the food, the different fiber, plant fibers that are in various states of digestion. Everyone's happy. It's a well-functioning system. But then on the right, you have what is called a MAC deficient diet at the top. That's microbiome accessible carbohydrate, which is essentially our fibers that feed the bacteria, but this was a deficient diet. So when those fibers are missing, you can see all those yellow fibers have disappeared, but you can see that the bacteria have started to consume that green layer, the mucus layer. It's thinning. And then they're encroaching on the human cells, getting closer and closer. So again, this is not a case probably where there's a disease yet, but it's one of the very first steps in the process of developing a chronic illness. So this is a really critically important aspect, that the microbiome depends on fiber. And so we're going to talk tonight about more than 100 different foods that support the microbiome and keep this ecosystem functioning optimally. So thousands of years, Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut, and that's very much the same principle in Ayurveda as well. We know the gut is really the foundation of both health as well as disease. And the microbiome has been linked to so many different conditions: heart disease, diabetes, obesity, depression, autoimmunity, like we talked about this afternoon, and many more. And just to give you a sense of how many bacteria we have, if you lined up the bacteria in the gut, so remember, bacteria are very small, but if you line them up end to end, they would stretch all the way from the Earth to the moon. So it's just a massive quantity that we're dealing with here, and just to illustrate how numerous the bacteria are. And they're also quite unique. So some people think that in the future they'll be, just like you can identify yourself with your fingerprint, they'll be able to identify you with your microbiome signature, like the different range of bacteria. So this also raises the question of what is normal and what is optimal. This is a very important question that's an area of active research, but there is a lot of diversity and individuality in the microbiome. So pets are very helpful. So they've shown that children that grow up around pets have greater diversity of the microbiome. Gardening, farming, getting some soil under your fingernails, very beneficial. So if you grow your own vegetables, and get some of that good bacteria directly from the soil, that's very beneficial. And then opening windows to get air and circulation, that's also beneficial as well, to have microbes circulating through that way. So this slide is what gut bugs do, but maybe a better question is what don't they do? Because they literally do so much. They are very important for detoxification. So the gut bacteria are kind of the second liver of the body. The liver is the primary organ of detox, but gut bacteria are second. Very important for the immune system. They produce multiple enzymes. Healthy gut bacteria will actually make certain B vitamins. Also vitamin K2, that's a very important vitamin. So K1 is a vitamin that's present in a lot of foods like leafy greens and many vegetables. K2 is not found in that many foods, but if you have a healthy gut bacteria, they will synthesize the K2 out of the K1. There's one food that's a Japanese fermented soy dish called natto that is very high in K2. That's the single most numerous amount of K2 in that. Has anybody tried natto? Could I see a show of hands? Okay, well, 1, 2, okay, so a few people. I've tried it too. It's terrible, in terms of the taste. But it's definitely an acquired taste because in Japan it's a delicacy. People love the natto. So that's why it's a better strategy. Get your gut bacteria to produce it. Then you don't have to try to eat natto to get the K2 in there. But so with the neurotransmitters, which are the brain signaling molecules, serotonin is one of the most common ones, and 80% of the serotonin in the body is made in the gut. So that is something called the gut-brain axis, where there's a two-way communication between the brain and the gut constantly. So this regulates your sleep, regulates circadian rhythm, hormones, brain function as well. So a lot of different effects of these gut microbes. And then when they are in balance, that's the optimal microbiome. But when they get out of balance, that's the dysbiosis, which is the state of imbalance. And dysbiosis has been linked to a number of these conditions. So leaky gut, like we talked about, the increased intestinal permeability, that often is a consequence, and it leads to inflammation and other conditions like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, various digestive disorders. Actually, IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, is more recently being found to have an autoimmune component as well. Other neurological conditions, brain disorders, asthma, allergies, even cancer, and both types of arthritis, osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis as well. So all of these things have been linked to the dysbiosis. So what causes that? So the thing is, many different factors affect the gut microbiome. So nutrient deficiencies definitely can play a role, because just like your human cells need certain nutrients, your bacteria need certain nutrients too. A lot of the vitamins, essential fatty acids, all those things. Alcohol is a direct cause of dysbiosis. It's toxic, to the cells, also pretty toxic to bacteria, especially in excess. And then sugar, so excessive refined sugar, refined carbohydrates, those tend to feed the harmful bacteria, the pathogenic bacteria, not so much the good ones, and you get the dysbiosis. We know that toxins play a big role, like pesticides, heavy metals, pollutants. If you do have to take antibiotics, that can disrupt the microbiome. Digestive enzymes, if they're low, can be a factor, but one of the best ways to stimulate your digestive enzymes is take a piece of ginger, dip it in lemon juice, and then chew that before meals. So this is a common Ayurvedic recommendation, and it's a very effective way to stimulate your digestive enzymes, get the stomach acid and the enzymes produced before eating. Just a small, half-inch piece of ginger dipped in lemon juice, and just chew that before meals for the digestive enzymes. Other things that affect the bacteria, so the additives in our food supply, emulsifiers, preservatives, artificial flavors, other additives. So unfortunately, with processed food now, that's very common in the food supply, and all these things harm the gut bacteria. Stress. So directly causes leaky gut, causes dysbiosis. Inadequate sleep, so even a few nights of sleep deprivation can start to affect the good bacteria. And exercise, either too little or too much, can both be harmful. Much more common is inactivity, so leading a sedentary lifestyle. That is also has a negative effect on the bacteria. Certain other medications, surgery, radiation, food allergies, and sensitivities as well. So it is possible now to test for food allergies, sensitivities, see what you react to, see if what you can tolerate. And you can also do that yourself with an elimination diet and then reintroduction to see what you have reactions to, but those can impact the gut bacteria as well. And finally, lack of fiber in the diet. So you can see there's so many different factors that can affect the good bacteria and lead to this dysbiosis. So in terms of the microbiome diet, the good news is it's responsible for more than 60 to 70% of the changes in bacteria. And then lifestyle, so all the other things we talked about, like environment, toxins, sleep, stress management, hormones, that is another maybe 30 to 40%. But diet is the majority of the influence, which is why we're going to focus on food in the talk tonight. So we talked last night a bit about phytochemicals, the plant-based chemical compounds that are very important for inflammation. And again, there are many thousands of phytochemicals that have very important roles: antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, supporting the immune system. And so we're going to go through some of these different colored fruits and vegetables. So I think in the next 8 slides, there's about like 100 different foods we're going to go through now. And the purpose of going through these lists of foods is to just suggest things that you may not be familiar with, maybe you haven't tried, maybe you're not eating them regularly. Remember, our goal is to get that 40 plant foods a week. So maybe by going through this list, you might get some ideas of what plants you're not eating that you might want to add in. So we'll start with the red-colored foods. So of course, apples of all kinds. If you can get them from Nepal, that's probably ideal. But no, I'm just kidding. That's the wild apples we talked about last night. But no, apples, as long as you're eating the skin, you're getting a lot of the nutrients, because most of the antioxidants in fruits or vegetables are in the skin. So definitely eat the apple. Beets, and also beet greens, which are leafy tops of the beetroot, as well as the root. Highly beneficial to eat both. Bell peppers, blood oranges, excellent. Cranberries, cherries, pink grapefruit. Goji berries are very high in antioxidants, legitimate superfood. Red onions, plums, pomegranate, red potatoes. Radicchio, excellent option in terms of, we think about leafy greens as mostly green, but radicchio is one of the red-colored vegetables in the same category. Radishes, raspberries, strawberries. Rhubarb, excellent. Actually, if you have it in tea or in baking with it, rhubarb is very high in antioxidants. Rooibos tea, so this is red bush tea, very good source of phytochemicals. Tomatoes and watermelon as well. And then on the right of each slide, I've listed all of the phytonutrients that are found in those red-colored foods. So I'm not going to go through and read those off, but just for reference, because now we know kind of what are the key elements of each of these foods that make them very healthy. So these are the red foods that are important to include. So orange foods. Now there's quite a few. So apricots, orange bell peppers, cantaloupe is excellent. So carrots actually come in all colors besides orange, but orange carrots are excellent. Squash of different types, mango, citrus like oranges, nectarine. Papaya is an excellent source of many vitamins and minerals. Persimmons, good. Pumpkins, sweet potatoes, and don't forget turmeric. That is excellent not only for phytochemicals, but inflammation. You can juice or make a smoothie with whole turmeric root. That's a great way to take it. If you are going to do that, always add a pinch of black pepper, because black pepper together with turmeric boosts the absorption of the ingredients in turmeric. And then here are some of the phytonutrients, the different carotenoids and carotene. So very important to include some orange foods every week. Okay, and then yellow. So certain apples, Asian pears are quite good. Of course, bananas, yellow bell peppers. Ginger is in this category. Lemon is excellent. If you zest the peel of a lemon or have lemonade, either good ways to incorporate. Pineapples, star fruit is quite good. Succotash and summer squash. And these have the phytonutrients lutein, rutin, and zeaxanthin that are especially good for vision when it comes to phytochemicals. So, okay, and then now some of the blue, purple, and black foods that we talked about. Some of these yesterday. So berries, so blueberries, blackberries, but also if you can get boysenberries, huckleberries, or marionberries, they have different nutrients and phytochemicals that have various benefits. With cabbage, yeah, if you can get like the purple or red cabbage, that's available. Carrots, there are black carrots that are very high in nutrients, a lot more than orange carrots. A bit harder to find, but carrots of all different colors are very nutritious. And then the purple cauliflower, excellent, more nutrients than the white cauliflower. Eggplant, good option. Figs, grapes, kale, of course, and then prunes and plums, and also olives. So olives are very high in the polyphenols, which are another one of those nutrients that feed the microbiome. So here under phytonutrients, one of the ones that's listed is resveratrol. So this is something that is very getting a lot of research now because of the anti-cancer effects, and it's primarily found in the skin of these purple fruits, so like grapes and plums and prunes and so forth. So I think resveratrol supplementation is quite common now, but you can get a pretty good dose from those purple fruits especially. And then there are some white, tan, and brown foods. So cauliflower, even though it's not very intensely colored, excellent source of nutrients. Cocoa powder, cacao powder, coconut, excellent. Coffee can be pretty high in phytochemicals. Just be careful about what you're adding to it, like sugar and too much fat and those things. Dates, ginger, beans of all types are great. Mushrooms, very good for the microbiome. Nuts and seeds, onions, and shallots. So sesame and tahini are in this category. White tea is actually very high in antioxidants. And some of the phytonutrients found in these foods are listed here. So lignans are especially anti-cancer, and they're found a lot in flax seeds and other nuts and seeds. So there's a really good benefit to some of these white, tan, and brown foods. So don't exclude them from the diet. You want to eat the rainbow, get the intensely colored fruits and vegetables, but no need to exclude these foods as well. And then green foods are the ones that we should be trying to eat the most of in the diet, I feel. So very good sources of inulin, which is a prebiotic that includes artichokes and asparagus, as well as watercress, which is further down on the list. Avocado is very beneficial. So whenever you're eating an avocado, remember to get all the flesh off of the skin, because close to the skin is where most of the nutrients and antioxidants are. Bamboo shoots, green bell peppers, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, celery, cucumbers, edamame, excellent, also good source of protein. and then various types of greens. So I don't recommend iceberg lettuce because it's very low in nutrients, but instead you could consider arugula, beet greens, chard, collard greens, dandelion greens, kale, mustard greens, spinach, turnip greens. And then green peas are very good. We're going to talk about green tea a little later because it's extremely health promoting. And then limes, okra, snow peas. Watercress is one of the vegetables that's actually highest in antioxidants, so definitely good to incorporate if you're not currently consuming it or cooking with it. And zucchini as well is very nutrient rich. And so you can see with the green foods, there's a large number of phytochemicals and phytonutrients in all of these foods, and that's why they're so health promoting. And it's beneficial to try to eat a lot more of the green foods. So I think a good goal is to aim, if you can, optimal is to try to get 9 servings of vegetables, and if you can get 10 combined of vegetables and fruits, that's ideal. So there's a little bit of leeway there. And this was a good question that was asked yesterday. What is a serving of vegetables? So you can think of when you're measuring vegetables raw, 1 cup raw is considered 1 serving, and half a cup cooked, because when you cook them, they'll cook down and become smaller. So half a cup of cooked or 1 cup of raw vegetables, and then a medium size, meaning about 1 cup of a fruit. So like 1 medium sized apple or orange or pear is considered 1 serving. Berries, it's more like half a cup. So things like dried fruit, it's more like half a cup is a serving. So I hope that illustrates the idea. So again, 10 servings per day is optimal, combined fruits and vegetables, and you want to get 2 to 3 servings at each meal, ideally. So the polyphenols are something I want to talk a bit more about next. So this is something, so it's found in some foods we're going to go through, like green tea and berries and all these things. But the interesting thing about polyphenols is we only absorb 5% of them from all of these amazingly healthy foods. And the 95% actually is metabolized by the gut bacteria, and then they produce the metabolites that we then absorb. So we have a really big role that the gut bacteria play when it comes to these the polyphenols. And then when it comes to fiber in general, there's 2 types of fiber. There's soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. So soluble fiber is what dissolves in water, is called soluble, and that is a very good prebiotic. So let me just define some of the terms first, because there's prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic. So the probiotic is the actual bacteria, like the good bacteria. The prebiotic is what feeds the good bacteria, so different fibers. And a postbiotic is something produced by the probiotics, so the metabolites produced in the gut. So soluble fiber also has a benefit of lowering cholesterol, helping with blood sugar. Many leafy greens, all of these vegetables and fruits mentioned here are good sources. But then you also need insoluble fiber. So this is the kind that does not dissolve in water. It actually absorbs water. So it's very good, helpful for helping bowel movements, helping elimination, helping move things through the digestive tract. So beans are a really good source. Bran, wheat bran, whole grains, nuts and seeds. So those are very important for the insoluble fiber. So you can see if you have a diet that includes both, including the whole grains, nuts and seeds, beans, you'll get the insoluble fiber, and then plenty of fruits and vegetables to get the soluble fiber. Then you'll get both. And a target, I think, is at least the 35 grams that's listed there per day is kind of a good range to aim for if you're not already at that level. And then the bacteria ferment the fiber into the short-chain fatty acids. So these, especially butyrate, is very important. That's the main fuel for the intestinal cells, the main energy source. It's something that the bacteria have to produce. And then these SCFAs also reduce inflammation. They protect against cancer, colon cancer. They can help reduce obesity, help with the immune function, help with blood sugar control, also help with the brain and the heart. And so here are some more prebiotic foods that will help with producing those short chain fatty acids. So asparagus is excellent in terms of inulin content. So burdock and chicory are also good sources. They're used more for brewing, to get either teas or beverages. That's a good way to consume and get the benefits. Cacao or cocoa is beneficial as well. Eggplant and endives are a very good prebiotic. So Jerusalem artichokes listed there are a variation of artichoke that's very high in inulin, also a great prebiotic. Jicama is excellent. And cognac root is used to make certain noodles. So you can find noodles that are made from this, it's an Asian root called cognac root. It's a very good prebiotic for the good bacteria. And then plantains, actually, which I think are popular here locally, they're actually very good source of prebiotics and also resistant starch. Whole grains for sure, and yacon as well is excellent. So these are some of the other prebiotic foods you can incorporate. So those postbiotics that we're talking about, the short chain fatty acids, there's three main ones. One is butyrate. So that's the main energy source for all the gut cells, and then it's very good anti-inflammatory. You also have acetate. So this is something that suppresses hunger, suppresses appetite, reduces inflammation. It's one of the natural kind of popular now are the GLP-1 drugs that are helping for weight loss. But this is something that naturally can help stimulate those pathways. And then third is propionate, which is a compound that lowers cholesterol, helps the heart to reduce plaque in the arteries, and very good for the immune system as well. So these are some of the postbiotics, which are what the probiotics produce, and the metabolites that have all these beneficial effects. Now, talking a bit about fermented foods and how they can be helpful for the gut. So this was a study that was interesting where they went to a grocery store and bought a wide variety of fermented foods that are pictured there on the left. And then they tested them in a lab to see, does each food have what the label says? So this is what they found. And the list, so for example, with yogurt, some of the bacteria, kefir, sauerkraut, cottage cheese, kimchi, kombucha. There's a product called gut shots, which are like these small fermented drinks. And the good news is they found that almost all of these foods did have the bacteria promised on the label. So that includes the non-dairy yogurts, regular yogurt, but also almond milk yogurt, coconut milk yogurt. So it's good news if you're trying to get some of these live bacteria. Generally, the fermented foods do have what they promise. These are mostly refrigerated, so it's better to get those fermented foods from the refrigerated section rather than non-refrigerated, because they'll have a lot more of those live cultures. So here's a list of some of those fermented foods, also called probiotic foods. So if you tolerate dairy, again, not everyone does. For some people, they can be sensitive to dairy. But if you don't have a dairy sensitivity, especially the fermented ones like buttermilk, cheese, cottage cheese, kefir, yogurt, sour cream, those can all be beneficial for the gut bacteria. But if you don't tolerate dairy, there's many non-dairy options. There's kefir made from coconut. There's kimchi, kombucha, various fermented vegetables, certain fermented soy like miso, natto, we talked about, tempeh, excellent as well. And then yogurt, the non-dairy yogurt, you just want to watch out for the added sugar. As long as it doesn't have a lot of added sugar, they seem to be very beneficial. If you don't tolerate milk yogurt, almond milk or coconut milk, or soy-based yogurt, those all seem fine in terms of the bacteria content and the probiotic effect. Kimchi is the Korean fermented cabbage with chili. It's a bit more spicy. And there's a bacteria there that was found that produces the vitamin K2. So just like there's not many foods besides natto that have it, it's now found that kimchi is a way to get that rare vitamin K2. And then it has the effect of producing certain beneficial short-chain fatty acids like propionic, which lowers cholesterol, inflammation, and helps with heart health as well. So kimchi is another good choice. Yogurt, the main thing to remember is, unsweetened, plain, without added sugar. Really, it's been around for thousands of years. So here are some other foods that are helpful for the gut microbiome. So all cruciferous vegetables are especially good for inflammation, but also cancer protective. And then garlic and onions are high in inulin and quercetin. So those are nutrients that help what's called the tight junctions. So this is something that goes back to the leaky gut. So to prevent the leaky gut, there are these tight junctions, which are basically between each cell in the gut. That's how they're kind of held together. The tight junctions are like the bricks in the wall of the intestine, if you will. So garlic and onions support the integrity of those tight junctions. Of course, leafy greens, berries of all types, and mushrooms, especially Asian mushrooms, shiitake, maitake, reishi. Those are especially beneficial for the immune system as well as the microbiome. But other mushrooms have a beneficial effect as well. And then dark chocolate. So if you get at least 70% cacao, I think that's beneficial. Very good in terms of the polyphenol content. Extra virgin olive oil we're going to talk about. And then green and black tea, excellent as well. Incorporating herbs and spices is a really great way to get more prebiotics. So that's what I'm going to be speaking about tomorrow, an entire talk on spices. But in cooking with herbs as well, the things like rosemary and various thyme, various cooking herbs, those are all beneficial as well. So bone broth is optional, but it does have some gut healing properties, can help with leaky gut. Now, olive oil is the best fat that is available for consumption. There's a myth, actually, that olive oil should not be heated, that if you heat olive oil, you will ruin it or cause harm. It's true that olive oil does have a somewhat lower smoke point than other oils, but if you get extra virgin olive oil, they've actually studied that and found that cooking actually does not create any negative molecules or harmful molecules. It's completely safe to cook extra virgin olive oil. It doesn't lose any of its beneficial properties. So the main oil I recommend for cooking is olive oil. If there's something that is going to be very high heat, you could use avocado oil or ghee in that case. But the majority of cooking, we believe, should be with olive oil. Great benefits for heart health as well as brain health, lowering inflammation, helping blood sugar control, reducing risk of cancer, and of course, excellent for the microbiome. Now, intermittent fasting is something that is very beneficial for the gut microbiome. It's also a really good way to lower inflammation. So it can lower inflammation in the brain, the lung, autoimmune disease, gut inflammation, heart as well, and be very good in cancer. So we'll talk in the next slide about how to do intermittent fasting, how to practice different types of fasting, but there's so many benefits in terms of blood sugar control, weight loss, of course, but also for inflammation, cancer, and autoimmunity. So there's different ways to do intermittent fasting. One of the common ones is the 16 to 8 fasting, where you're eating in an 8-hour window and then you're fasting for 16 hours. And when you first begin, if you're new to intermittent fasting, I tell patients to start just once a week or twice a week to test it out. and then very gradually increase that to more frequent. But that's a good way. If you've never done fasting, you could start with a smaller window, maybe 12 hours of fasting, and then 14 hours, and then 16 hours. You can build up to that. There's another protocol in number 2 here, the 5:2 protocol. So this is something where you're eating generally healthy, diet for 5 days, but twice a week, 2 non-consecutive days, you have a low-calorie day, like a 500-calorie day, which is basically 2 meals with salad and some protein, and so each meal about 250 calories. And research has shown that's also a very effective way to get the benefits of fasting, especially for weight, metabolism, blood sugar, all these things. This is non-consecutive days. So like Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, you have those 2 low-calorie days, and then the other days you're eating general healthy diet. So there's other kinds of fasting listed here. OMAD is the acronym for 1 meal a day. This is a different way to incorporate fasting. There's also the fasting mimicking diet. So this is a diet that is basically in 5 days, you're eating a certain low-calorie foods. It's available. There's a product you can buy where they have different like soup mixes and different things. It's entirely plant-based. And then you're eating those low-calorie foods, which are designed to mimic the benefits of fasting. You're just eating less during those 5 days. You can also find online recipes for a fasting mimicking diet, how to make your own. You don't have to buy the product that is available. But that's also been studied to have a lot of benefits of fasting, but then you're actually eating. You're eating just these simple, low-calorie, plant-based foods for 5 days. And so I recommend people, if they're doing that, to do, once a month, to do the 5 days, and do like 3 to 4 times a year, incorporate the fasting mimicking diet. So generally, it just depends on what your goal is for fasting. So if you're trying to treat a disease like, say, cancer or rheumatoid arthritis, then often the prolonged fasting that's listed here, like for more than 72 hours, can be very powerful. But if you're trying to help, with blood sugar, maybe some weight loss, then the intermittent fasting, one of these approaches, the 16:8 fasting or 5:2 protocol, both are good for the general benefits of fasting. And then coming back to the polyphenols, so some more ideas here. Remember to eat the brightly colored plant foods. And then hopefully with the list of foods that we've gone through, you will get some ideas for different foods and different vegetables and fruits to select. So next time you go shopping, you'll get something different. Get variety. Some people get in the habit of eating the same thing, the same 10 or 15 foods every week. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's not going to really support diversity in the microbiome, and we know that's the most important thing for longevity. So purple cabbage is an excellent option in terms of alternative to green cabbage. And then green tea is excellent. And best of all is matcha green tea powder. So matcha is the actual green tea leaves that are ground into this fine powder that you can brew in tea. It's a common Japanese beverage. But matcha tea, because it's so concentrated, is the highest source of polyphenols in any tea beverage. And then with the dark chocolate, again, at least 70% cacao content, that will give you some of those polyphenols and also magnesium, other minerals. And then cranberry or pomegranate juice, those are especially good for this bacteria called Akkermansia. So this bacteria in the microbiome is the most important bacteria for weight, for maintaining healthy weight, for metabolism, blood sugar regulation. And it really likes these red polyphenol-rich foods like cranberries and pomegranate. So you can either eat pomegranates or cranberries, or you can do the unsweetened juice, so 100% pomegranate or cranberry juice. You only need 4 ounces a day, and then you can dilute that in sparkling water if you want. but you don't need a large amount. That's very important for the Akkermansia, which is the most important bacteria for weight, maintaining a healthy weight. So cranberry and pomegranate are the best foods for that bacteria. So we'll wrap up here, and I'll be happy to take any questions. So a reminder that with vegetables, you want to get 2 to 3 servings of every meal. And if you're just beginning, try to go from 1 serving to 2 servings. Make sure you're including cruciferous vegetables at least once a day. Make sure you're including prebiotic foods, all those foods we talked about, the excellent, plant-based foods that support the microbiome. And then remember, with combined fruit and vegetable intake, you want to aim for 10 servings per day. So fruit could be anywhere from 2 to 4 servings a day, and then that would leave you, 6 to 8 servings of vegetables a day. I think fermented foods are very powerful, the probiotic foods. At least 1 meal a day where you have some either, yogurt or sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir. It could be anything like that. But fermented foods, probiotic foods are also very beneficial for the gut. Don't forget water. That's important, at least 1 to 2 liters every day. And finally, gratitude, because we know the mind-body connection is really huge, and I'm going to be speaking a bit more about that tomorrow night. But gratitude practices are some of the most important ways to reduce stress, but also improve that gut-brain axis and support overall well-being and longevity. So thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions. Oh, yes. Oh, I can probably hear you. Close enough. You can.
What's your take on reheated foods and microwave foods versus when it comes to gut biome and the nutrients?
Well, I believe there's definitely a loss of prana in terms of the life force and energy. From the Ayurvedic perspective, they don't look too favorably upon microwaving food. But your question was about the microbiome and the gut. I don't think it does harm that, because you're not the fibers in the food are still there. They're not going to be broken down or deteriorated. So I always recommend praying over microwave food to help restore some of the prana, because that is absolutely something that works. I think you still get the benefits in terms of the fiber, though.
Regarding yesterday's talk,
Mm-hmm.
in the West we have the tendency to be very heavily focused on protein consumption. So I'm curious, one, why do you think we focus so much on protein in our diet?
Mm-hmm.
And two, can you speak to the efficacy of that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So I think, there is, I believe, a bit of an overemphasis on protein, and I do think that with plant-based sources, with beans, nuts, and seeds, that people can get their general needed amount of daily protein. I always recommend you can do a blood test, and that's a simple way to measure protein in the blood to see if it's adequate. So that's what I like to do for my patients. You check because everyone is different. That's what it comes down to. There's all these calculators and guidelines for number of grams of protein, but no two people are alike. And I always like to check their blood levels of protein first to make sure they're adequate, and then use that to kind of guide their diet. So. Yes, in the back. Oh, would ginger tea with lemon be beneficial? So it's not the purpose of actually chewing the ginger dipped in lemon is to stimulate the digestive enzymes. It's a lot more powerful when you're getting the actual ginger. You will get some effect from ginger tea. I think it's going to be much milder. Definitely, you'll see some benefit, and it's definitely a good option in terms of tea. But for the digestive enzymes, I don't think it's strong enough to really stimulate them. So,
Switch. Q&A at the workshop tomorrow.
what's it?
Maybe you could suggest Q&A at the workshop tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure. So we're almost out of time, but maybe one last question. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah. So
Just
we'll
hold on.
do Q&A at the after the workshop tomorrow, but we can take maybe one last question since we're almost out of time.
Just a quick question about the number of supplements that are out there for gut health. Do you have any comments about the quality or effectiveness or way to supplement for gut health?
Okay, well, how many hours do we have left to talk about this stuff? So, okay, well, I'll say, so a common question is probiotics. How do you select the right one? So it's true that for most people, I recommend getting the probiotics through food, because studies have shown that if you choose the wrong probiotic, it can actually cause harm. They're not completely benign. You know, there are some that are very helpful, but then others can be harmful. You really should work with a practitioner to guide you on that. And probiotics, just to give an example, like the same species, Lactobacillus acidophilus, is a very common probiotic, but it varies a lot, the strain or subtype of that species. They could have a completely different effect. Just like all dogs are Canis major, right? That's the same species. But if you compare a Chihuahua to a Pit Bull to a Saint Bernard, they're all going to have different strengths and weaknesses, right? You wouldn't expect them all to act the same. So same with probiotics. They're extremely varied. Yeah, I would definitely recommend working with a practitioner for something. But going with the probiotics in the food, you're completely safe. So fermented foods, high in probiotics, you really can't cause harm from that source. So thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
So I'd like to thank again very much Dr. Akil Palanisamy for this beautiful presentation. Let's give another very big hand. And he will continue his program tomorrow. And just to mention that several of his books are available in the boutique, and also a lot of good amount of dark chocolate is also. And nuts is. So you can find that. Now chocolate is a easy sell now. So we'll go over the schedule for tomorrow. We'll have tomorrow morning, we'll have the morning satsang.